Once we have done our triangulation to find the working length of each individual panel, our next step is to take the working length from each individual panel and add the allowances for our transverse connectors. As you can see from my sketch here, I need 1.25 inches for my Ductmate 25, and I need a total of 1 inch for my Essen drive accommodation. That leaves me a total of 2.25 inches. So if I add 2.25 inches to my working length, or true working length of the bottom, I end up with 9.75 inches. Now if I come back to my original sketch here and add 8 and 3 is 11, plus my 1 inch female Pittsburgh, and my 1 inch female Pittsburgh gets me this 13. Now, the female Pittsburgh, I made that decision by putting the female Pittsburgh on the shortest side of my transition and the male Pittsburgh on the longest sides of my transition, which makes the left and right get the male Pittsburgh and the top and bottom get the female. So, I end up with a dimension that is 8 and 3 is 11, plus 2 for the female Pittsburghs gives me 13. And our stretch out of 7.5 working length and 1.25 plus 1 gives me a cut size of 9.75 by 13. Now I've done that same thing for the top. I have a true working length of 8.25. Onto that I had to add 2.25 to get me to 10.5, and it is also 13 because I have 8 and 3 plus 1 plus 1. Now when we look at the left and right side, we have to realize that now we are dealing with the male Pittsburgh, which is only 1/4 inch on each side, so I get 12 plus 2 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 gives me a number of 14.5. Now my true working length was 8 and 10 over 12. I converted 10 over 12 to a decimal of 0.8333, makes it easier for me to calculate, so I have 8.8333 plus my 2.25 inches for my transverse connectors gives me a left cut size of 11 and a 1 over 12 by 14.5. Same procedure for the right side. I have a true working length of 7 and 10 over 12, which is 7.8333, plus my 2.25 gives me 10 and 1 over 12, and I have 10 and 4 plus 1/4 for the 14.5, the other dimension. So, what I have done now is quite simply, I have laid out my outside cut size of bottom, top, left, and right. This is no different than me going to the shear with this information and cutting these sizes. So let's take a look at what I've done with the bottom. From my cut size of 13 by 9.75, I've subtracted 1.25 inches for my Ductmate 25. And I've subtracted 1 inch up here for my drive and S connection, which leaves me with my working length of 7.5 in between. Now, starting at one side from my cut size, I first take off the inch that is required for my female Pittsburgh that I allowed in. Then I'm going to put in my dimension, which is 8 inches. And I'm doing that along my working line. I'm going to come up to my working line on the other side, and in from this corner now, I'm going to come in 1 inch from my cut size, and I'm down 1 inch because I scribed the inch to accommodate my drive and S. I come in 1 inch, I come in my duct size, which is 6 inches, and I connect the dots. I now have this panel. It's exactly where it needs to be. My next step would be to add my 1 inch female Pittsburgh, which is 1 inch, and I measure perpendicular to this oblique line so that I actually get 1 inch. And there's my mark there, and let's just draw that through there. And there's my Pittsburgh allowance. We'll redo notching once I've laid out another panel or two. So for now, I'm just going to lightly scribe in this 1 inch, and that's how we get the size. In order to notch this, first thing that I want to do is recognize my obtuse angles, obtuse and obtuse, and from there I am going to notch simply 90 degrees to my finish line, which is 90 degrees to my finish line, right there. There's my notch. Here's my other obtuse angle, and I'm just going to eyeball that with a nice even space there, and there's my 90-degree notch there. Now, on the acute angles, we are required to duplicate the angle so the Pittsburghs don't get in the way of things when they're being assembled. And in order to do that, I need to duplicate this interior angle right here. Now, I'm just going to swing this over on this side, because where we are going to duplicate this angle, I'm going to duplicate this interior angle on the other side of this leg of the angle. So I've chosen a radius. Any radius works, and now I'm simply going to measure the chord length across that angle, and I'm going to bring it over to the other side of my arc. I've taken this leg and I've brought it over to here now. Now, I'm just going to line that up with my corner, and there now is my notch and my object line. Let's do the same on this other acute angle, and I'm going to create an arc, and I'm going to measure a chord. I'm going to duplicate that chord on the other side of the line and bring it back to my vertex, which will give me the notch that I am requiring right there. And now I have a finished bottom panel. To lay out the top panel, I'm going to do the exact same thing. I have laid out my cut size, 13 by 10 and 1/2. And here's my cut size here, 13 by 10 and a half. Once again, I am going to be required to work on my working line once again. From this cut size, I've subtracted the 1 inch for my duct drive and S connection, and I have subtracted 1.25 inches at the bottom for my DuctMate 25 connection, and I know that I have a mirror image of this bottom panel. So, making a mirror image, let's get to my 3/8 scale. I'm going to come in 1 inch to accommodate my female Pittsburgh, and my duct dimension is 6. I go to the bottom. I'm going to start at this corner now, and I'm going to go 1 inch to accommodate my female Pittsburgh, and my duct dimension is 8. Can now connect the dots on these finish lines that I've just laid out, and there's my raw pattern. It's so easy to lay stuff out from a finished cut size that this is the way we want you to do it. I would like you to do it this way. It takes away from mistakes. And there's my DuctMate connection, all finished up nice. I need to extend my S and drive connection slightly here. I need to measure my 1/2 inch so I get my finish line right here. And we will just connect that across. And I can get the proper notching detail on here now with my 45-degree triangle. One inch on each side. Female Pittsburgh, female Pittsburgh, 1 inch for a female Pittsburgh, and finally, once again, 1 inch for my female. And once again, I'm just going to lightly scribe that in so I can determine where my notches land. Recognize my obtuse angles and notch 90 degrees to that obtuse angle, which is here and here. And once again, we need to duplicate the angles on our acutes. So I'm just going to swing that right there. Measured my chord. Very close already. Bring that there. And once again, I've duplicated the angle on the other side. Finishing off this seam and obtaining the proper notch. I have to duplicate the angle on the acute side of this, which is this corner here, and I'm going to swing the arc once again. I'm going to measure the chord, bring it to the other side, and connect the dots. Duplicated the angle, giving me the proper notch. And there's my top panel with the inside. My left panel. Now I'm down to my sketch here, and I can see that my left panel is going to start at the top left side with a 12-inch dimension. First thing I need to recognize is that this is going to require a 1/4 inch male Pittsburgh to begin with. Right there. And then my 12-inch duct dimension, which is here. Then I'm going to come down to the bottom end, and I'm going to come in my 1/4 inch. We're going to do that on the working line. 1/4 inch. And then my 10-inch duct dimension. Careful, it's a 3/8 scale. Get the right 10. And I'm going to connect the dots. And I'm going to connect the dots. Now, double check. Take a look at my drawing. I have a 4-inch offset here. That means I should have 4 plus a 1/4 inch allowance. 1/4, 4 1/4. Come back to my drawing here. I have 2. I should have 2 1/4 here. And I have 2 1/4. There now is my left side panel. I can finish that up like this. There's my... I always want to leave the male Pittsburgh on when it comes to duct mate. And the S and drive part, we can just stretch that up for now. And let's put some measurements on here on the 3/8 scale. can mark the center of here for my notching purposes. I need a 1/4 inch male Pittsburgh. I need a 1/4 inch male Pittsburgh. I need 1/4 inch male Pittsburgh. And a 1/4 inch male Pittsburgh here. And now we're going to lightly draw that in. Making sure I'm nice and parallel here. And on the other side, I have my male Pittsburghs. Notching, obtuse, 90 degrees. Acute, duplicate the angle. 90 degrees on my obtuse. Acute, duplicate the angle. Oops, that's obtuse. I can draw that in. I can draw this in. Finish my S&D connection. S&D comes straight from this working line. Finish line, material line. Which means I'm going to come straight to here. I'm going to come straight to here. 45 to accommodate my field installer. And connect the dot across the top of that. And there we have our left side panel done. I need to add this 1/4 inch down here because Dr. Meat likes it like that. And it's just basically a straight notch there. Well, right side is a mirror image of the left side, just like I'm seeing here. So I'm going to start on the right side now. And I'm going to lay out my 1/4 inch. Let's make that so we can see it. On the 3/8 scale, on my working line, I'll lay out my 1/4 inch. My duct dimension of 12. And my core. And now I'm going to come down to the bottom side here, and I have a 1/4 inch to allow for it first of all, which is right there, and my duct dimension of 10. Once again, 3/8 scale, correct? 10 is required. I want to connect my dots. Once again, the ease and the simplicity of laying out from a cut size. Very advantageous. It makes our life so much easier. S&D connection, I'm going to carry that on. Carry that on. Bring that down here. Bring that down here. I've got my 1/4 inch there. Got my 1/4 inch there. A 1/4 inch there. A 1/4 inch there. And we'll make our S&D connection. Notch that at 45 degrees. Notch that. Oop, stuck on the tape at 45 degrees. And this should be 45 degrees, guys. Some of you have been doing 30 and I really don't care one way or another, but others might. Once again, acute, duplicate the angle. Obtuse, 90 degrees. Acute, duplicate the angle to 90 degrees. There's my notch there, there's my notch there. This would be a V notch here, and we are complete. I now have the inside of all 4 of my sides. We're all ready to go. That will be it for this video. Your next video will be on shop instructions for this same fitting.